So I want to try and break out the difference between depression and the dark night of the soul, because I feel this is a real dangerous grey area that some people watching some of these spiritual leaders and gurus, or other spiritual people online, maybe if they're depressed, could actually misinterpret themselves as going through the dark night of the soul. Whereas what they actually need is maybe clinical and professional help from therapists, psychologists, or maybe even medication. And I would certainly advise that if there's any doubt in you, any confusion in you whatsoever of whether you're depressed or going through the dark night of the soul, it will do you absolutely no harm to get therapy anyway. Because if you're in the dark night of the soul and you end up going to a therapist, it will just be great for you to relieve some of that attention and get stuff out of you. And on the same token, if you're depressed and you go and see a therapist, then it will only help. Just be selective on it actually might be a good topic for a video, is how to choose a therapist. And just make sure you're selective and you ask questions, because you've got to resonate with the person that you're going to be talking to anyway. Anyway, back to the video. My name's Toby, by the way. A couple of you have asked me what my name is. My name is Toby. I went through a spiritual awakening about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Went through the dark night of the soul, hit a very rough phase where I actually thought I wouldn't be here much longer. Managed to stay calm, stay relaxed, which is all other videos coming. And I've pulled through what I think is the other side. I'll say it again. I don't think I'm out the other side, but I'm very, very comfortable where I am and I'm enjoying the journey. And although it was rough, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. But back to the video. I think the first thing that you kind of noticed when you're in a dark night of the soul is the feelings of lowness that you will get, the feelings of emptiness or the void in you that you're getting, is because you can't make sense of yourself and you can't make sense of whatever goes on in society. It's like you suddenly see the strangeness of everything that goes on, almost like living in the Matrix. It's like you've come out of it and you look back in and you can see your friends and family inside still paying attention to the societal beliefs, the generational beliefs, the traditions and the conditioning that we've all gone through. You can hear it in people's voices as they talk. Or maybe, let me just say this again for some of you, because some of you might be in a real tricky spot and you're unsure. This might not be something that you're aware of when you hear people talking. You might not sort of be able to distinctly sit there and say, they're talking through old conditioning and limiting beliefs and stuff. But you'll have a feeling of something's off, something's not right. You kind of see through the people and you see what the real message is that they're saying, or whether they're putting up a slight act, or whether you'll just sense that something's off with any conversation. It doesn't have to be anyone you know. You could be sitting in a restaurant and you can overhear a couple talking, and there'll just be something off about the way they're communicating. It's like this communication between two people where they don't actually want to hurt one another with what they're saying, so nobody speaks the truth. It's a real weird phenomena, but that is what dark night of the soul will make you feel. You'll start picking up on all these different vibes and energies that something's not quite right in the world. There is more than that, and maybe as I'm talking now, this will come in my head and it will come out over the video, so bear with me. Depression, which I've also suffered, is much more, this is my experience, guys, of depression. Everyone is going to be different, so you have to interpret what I'm saying as, I wouldn't even take what I'm saying as 100% gospel truth. If it resonates with you, that's awesome. If it doesn't resonate with you, then look elsewhere, but do seek therapy, because I want to be so clear on that. These are my experiences and I'm sharing my experiences of my journey with you guys, because some of you, I'm getting a feeling you're going to go, that's what's up with me. And then you can research on that yourself and go deeper into that side yourself. But for me, depression was much more of a feeling in myself that I was hopeless. Everything in life was happening to me. I felt down. I felt grey about me, about the person grey. I said there, by the way, I felt grey about the person that I was. I felt like no matter what I would do, it would be done wrong. It would be something that I can't seem to fix. I wouldn't be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. That was how kind of depression hit me. But I've always been very lucky as well with that, because I've always been a guy who's gone very deep psychologically. I've always been fascinated with the mindset, our evolution, the universe, that kind of stuff. Just from birth, I come out very, very, very interested in that. Was always confused with why we're here, was always confused with life, was always confused with the world in a wonderful way. I would stand in wonderment, gazing at things, wondering what we are, who we are, and why we are. Off the back of that, I'd always read psychological books, or I'd always read books that were to do with like rags to riches story, because don't forget, my former self would have been someone who thought that riches bring you happiness. But now when I look back, I realise I was reading a lot of those books, rags to riches stories, because I liked the mindset of what those people did, how they made the choice to go from this place and move themselves along to this place. But what I was more interested in was the journey that they took to get there. And so I've always been very deep in terms of that. I like taking long walks by myself and reflecting on things and just contemplating on life and just breathing and enjoying what's around me. I've always been like that. And since I've had my spiritual awakening and gone through the dark night of the soul, that is much more so now. So I was kind of fortunate that I had this blessing that my life had anyway taken me into nature before any of this happened. Not in a big way, but I always liked it out there. Once it happened and I wanted to be on my own a lot, I had the mountains to go to, and I can spend days and days and days there on my own with no reception on my phone and no distractions, and just be completely content with myself and my thoughts. And that's where I'm trying to encourage a lot of you guys. That's where you will end up. So it's well worth. Dark night of the soul at times doesn't seem like it's very good. It's a horrible journey, and God knows the amount of times I cursed when I was in the thick of it. Why did this ever happen to me? I must have said that a million times, and I would much rather have gone back to the person who was unconscious, if you like, and still living in the matrix, and was still chasing after the dreams that felt tangible at the time, like money, relationship, new nice clothes, a car, a house, you know, that kind of stuff. Because when I was chasing that, I had no concept that there was another way of life. But I also I knew something was off in life. I felt down and miserable quite a lot of the time. So I'd go out, drink and party and smoke and reckless behaviour, sleep around a lot, and never focusing on my career or where I was going and stuff like that. Because basically you're drinking and socialising with friends to distract yourself from the life that's ultimately making you unhappy. I'm well aware, guys, I've digressed off the video here, so I'm going to bring it back round to that. But that's kind of my journey on the dark night of the soul. So when we are in this place of darkness, this void in the dark night of the soul, it's like I say, you will pick up on things that are going on around you. You'll pick up on conversations. This is another thing that you'll actually notice. Your taste will change. So not dramatically, it won't change, as in terms of one day you like lemonade, the next day you completely despise it and like Coca-Cola. So not in terms of that, but your tastes, the whole taste, as in terms of what you enjoy watching, what you enjoy listening to, the smells that your smells become much more pungent, much more open. Your things smell fresher, which is why you get a lot of spiritual people saying, breathe deep. Because it feels good. You feel like you can take a breath in. Eckhart Tolle says this wonderfully. 1 or 2 conscious breaths is so healing. And it's so true. Because when you can breathe in without the distraction of those awful thoughts that are normally there, of simple things, always keep it simple. What's for dinner tonight? What's the wife going to shout at me for tonight? What has he been doing today that's going to piss me off? What has the dog pooed on the floor? I don't know, millions of things that might be going on in your head as you're taking a breath. You're just breathing for the sake of breathing. When those thoughts clear up and you feel so much more relaxed with yourself, that those deep breaths, they go deep down inside and they feel fantastic, and they fill you up with stuff in life that is the real stuff of life, the real juice, oxygen, H2O that we drink, and those things become much more important to you, and they become much more enjoyable to you. So you'll get a lot more enjoyment out of drinking a glass of water and nourishing that, cherishing that almost, than you will do knocking back a nice cold can of Coke, although that is very nice to do. I don't do that so much anymore, and that's what I'm saying. Your tastes change. But I can remember how much I used to enjoy it. And that's what happens in the dark night of the soul. Things like that, they're the things that you will start picking up on. So you've got the few concepts there. I might do another video on this and actually break down and bullet point some stuff and see if I can be a bit more succinct with it. But you'll notice conversations are different with people, or you'll notice something is off. Your tastes will change in terms of both your smell, your hearing, the environments that you like to be in, your social circles. You'll find that you'll get a bit, maybe even agitated, because the people that you're with, that you surround yourself by, and they now feel like they're so unfamiliar to you. And as they're talking to you, you can see the pain in them. They can't see that pain in themselves, so don't go feeling guilty about that. This is why I do these videos, because I'm trying to wake people up to the fact that most of us are living a life that isn't congruent with us, which is why we are ultimately miserable and fall into depression as we get older. And those people need waking up. But those people that you're talking to, guys, they don't know they're in there. They just feel like something's off in life. So don't feel guilty that maybe you're wanting to withdraw from them. You have to withdraw, because you have to become your true self. You have to come back into yourself, and you have to give yourself the space, the time, the aloneness, and the time to contemplate on your own thoughts and become wholesome, become the real you. Because the dark night of the soul and the spirituality is shedding your old ego. All your identities are going behind. And that's where you can feel a slight difference that's where I could tell the slight difference between when I was depressed several years ago, which lasted for a couple of months, and then when I hit the dark night of the soul and I just thought, I know I'm not depressed. There was always this feeling of, I'm down, I don't feel good, but I know I'm not depressed. And there was this underlying voice, this underlying feeling all the time of, I'm okay. Don't resist anything. Let everything come in. And let me just explain this to some of you as well, in case some of you are wondering, what does it mean when someone says, don't resist things? What that means, if you get a thought that comes into your head, which is a thought that makes you feel uncomfortable, don't resist it. I.e., don't resist it as in terms of, don't hang on to it and analyze, why was that thought there? Why is that thought in my head? If it's not something that you're planning, i.e., you need to phone the doctors because you want to make a doctor's appointment, if that thought comes into your head, fine, attach to it, make the phone call, get the appointment booked. If it's a thought of something completely weird, something random, it might have even been a nasty thought about something or about someone. It could be a devious sexual thought. It could, no matter what it is, if it's something you're not planning to do or you've got no interest in, don't attach to it. Just let it drift by. It's just an involuntary thought that comes in your head. You have no concept of where those thoughts are coming from, why they've come up, or where they're going to go. They're just harmless thoughts that just come up in your head, and they do what they got to do, and they drift away like the clouds. That really is it. And that's what it means to not resist. Because by resisting a thought, that's when you're going to attach to it. And you'll analyse it. Why did I think that? Why did that come into my head? Oh my God, I must be an awful person. Shit, there's something wrong with me. I'm an animal. That's what I used to say. I'm an animal. What the fuck's wrong with me? Now, thoughts like that still come in my head. I'm sure they still come in everyone's head from time to time. But some of us have now got this lovely way. This is the beauty of Dark Night of the Soul. When you come through it, it just drifts by. It just floats by, and the most I'll do is be like, oh, it's unusual. And then it's gone. And I don't hang on to it, and I just go back to looking at the trees, which is one of my favourite things to do now, which I do get teased for a lot by my friends. But hey, it's cool. I love being that guy now, so it's all good. But that's what you're feeling, Dark Night of the Soul. And like I say, depression is a psychological disorder that you may need help to get through. You may have childhood traumas coming up and stuff like that, that are now trying to push through the surface, and for whatever reason your body is falling into that state. But generally with something like depression, you need to be resting, and that's the whole idea of it. It's forcing you to take action. The whole reason you might be feeling down is because it's your inner body, your inner feeling saying, please get me some help, please go and talk to someone. Both of them can be sorted out. Depression, you can end that. Dark Night of the Soul, that will end as well. So they can both be ended. But I hope that gives you some kind of ground between the two, the differences between the two. If you've got any questions on this stuff, guys, I'll leave my email up actually. You can email me or leave comments down below, and I'll do my best to get back to them. I live in a caravan. The reception here is not always great, so if I take a long time to respond, just bear with me, but I will try and get through all my comments and stuff like that. If you've got any video suggestions that you'd like me to do on this stuff, then also please just let me know, because I'm trying to cover a whole load of ground of Dark Night of the Soul. Also, thank you to you guys who have subscribed and give me the best comments, and to all my new subscribers, thank you for coming along and joining. It's great to have this kind of community going on at such an early stage. I never thought this was going to happen, not for a long time anyway. So the fact it's happened so early on, it is wonderful. And some of you guys are full of knowledge. You're teaching me in the comments. So this is what I wanted. It's a two-way thing between human beings, and as much as technology gets criticised, it's wonderful for things like this. Anyway, guys, there's nothing else to say. No, I don't think there's anything else to say, but it's a beautiful day here in North London. The sun's out again, which I'm so thankful for, because I have no heating in my caravan. So I'm very thankful that. Guys, get out in nature. Take some walks, take some deep breaths, enjoy the sights and sounds. And for those of you in the Dark Night of the Soul, relax, breathe into it. You're fine. You're meant to be going through this process. For a chapter to start, you have to finish another chapter. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense in the middle. So guys, have a great day. Take care.